She was hospitalized many times. She was violent many times.
You gotta be crazy to commit a mass shooting. But a woman who brings her own child along for the gunfire is next level nuts. But that's what happened last February at Houston's Lakewood Church.
It was absolute chaos out here on scene.
There were allegations shooter Genesee Moreno had abused her son for years. We later learned family members who wanted to protect the little boy before the shooting had gone to Montgomery County Judge Tracy Gilbert in Conroe for help, for temporary guardianship. He had said no. This was the result. 7-year-old Samuel, critically injured, shot in the head. Family court cases rarely make the news, but the decisions of family judges can be life-altering. And like criminal judges, their decisions can have deadly consequences.
I've heard so many horror stories about this Gilbert guy.
We've had many people come forward with harrowing experiences that have been willing to share, and you know, just lots of stories about the inequities and the insanity that ensued at the other end of the Gilbert Steve Jackson 1-2 punch.
You've met Melissa Britton, and she wants everyone to know about the relationship between Judge Tracy Gilbert and a local attorney in Conroe named Steve Jackson. How they teamed up, she claims, to keep her unsafe.
It should never be this hard to be safe.
Melissa Britton tried to get a protective order from Montgomery County's 418th District Court against this guy, Jeffrey Griffin. She accused him of stalking her, threatening revenge porn, even hacking her computer and phone.
Jeff, you're scaring me at this point.
Britton outright begged for court protection from her ex-boyfriend, from District Judge Tracy Gilbert. But he said no. And a week later, this happened. Jeff just happened to be cruising back and forth in his boat right by her family's lake house. What a coincidence. Doing the very thing that Gilbert could have stopped with that protective order. Melissa had recorded this phone call with one of Griffin's friends.
And he did tell me and confirm that he was on the fucking lake scoping out over there where you were at.
Griffin bragged on social media that he was some kind of Teflon Don, that he had beaten 3 protective order requests, although I'm not quite sure why that's something to brag about. Griffin's friend even told Melissa on that tape-recorded phone call that she was scared for her and Jeff's ex-wife, Susie, who also had complained to Montgomery County.
He goes, well, I got something for them. I'm not done yet.
But Melissa didn't know at that time that she might be up against another enemy.
Excuse me, Mr. Jackson.
She didn't know that Jeff's lawyer, Steve Jackson, was also Judge Gilbert's lawyer when the judge was sued for paternity and 16 years of back child support. Jackson sure helped out the judge.
Do you tell your clients that you were the Judge Gilbert's attorney? Do you think that that gives you an unfair advantage?
We think the canon of ethics means that Judge Gilbert should recuse himself every single time Steve Jackson has a case in his court, but he doesn't. Since 2010, when the judge faced his paternity problem, Jackson has presented cases in the 418th District Court 198 times, including 11 times while Gilbert's court was actually pending in the courts. And since Melissa first went public, the floodgates of complaints have opened up. Melissa got this message the very first night her story aired on Dolce Fino Media. Quote, I went through the exact same thing with Steve Jackson being my abuser's attorney and Tracy Gilbert denying my PO.
The Gilbert Steve Jackson 1-2 punch.
We're protecting that woman's identity. But according to the affidavit she filed in court, her abuser dragged her by the hair, choked her, even broke multiple bones in her body, and she feared more physical violence. I guess tough luck was the message back from the judge. Griffin's friend had told Melissa that she once overheard Jeff bragging about getting favors from police and the courts. He had connections through the lodge, referring to his Freemasons Lodge in Montgomery County.
I thought he was just talking shit. And then when I see this video, my mouth dropped.
We talked to people, both men and women, who were up against Steve Jackson in Tracy Gilbert's court.
I was never told that.
No, I was not aware, and I'm very sure my lawyer was not aware.
And we met a woman who asked us to call her NC. She called us back after we left a voicemail.
When you left me that voicemail, I thought, well, no freaking wonder.
And she and her ex-husband were in Gilbert's court negotiating custody arrangements for their son.
My ex-husband had another attorney prior to, and when things were not going his way, he then obtained Stephen Jackson. And his whole demeanor changed. It was, I'm going to beat you. I got this. It was more like, I got it in the bag. You might as well just give in now.
And she says after that, things started going his way. So she cut a deal to avoid a trial, only to find out that, as she claims, Steve Jackson supposedly made changes to that agreement that her own lawyer didn't catch.
And I just thought, that freaking ding dong, how did he manage to just switch these things up at last minute? And Gilbert was like, nope, she signed it. I don't care. She just has to figure it out.
Her ex-husband apparently wasn't satisfied with winning. He had to try to rub it in.
Like, I told you, you just got beat, this and that. And I thought, what in the world?
Lots of people are coming forward and saying my attorney was really terrible or ill-equipped when they are facing Jackson and Gilbert.
Kate Bim has been Melissa's lawyer. And in a letter, Steve Jackson told us that she knows all about his relationship with the judge, and that's why she didn't move to recuse him. Yes, they kept Melissa in the dark. We say Bim should have moved to recuse the judge. She declined our request for an interview. Melissa now wants all her case files, but it may be too late. Bim's office reminded her that she signed this, a contract saying her lawyer could destroy records after just 31 days past the end of the case. But Bim just sent Melissa a new invoice 3 weeks ago, so she better still have those records. It's a good warning to the rest of you folks out there. Dawn Stone called us about her divorce case.
There is no way in hell did I get 50% of our community property. I am beyond livid.
Dawn thought she had a slam dunk.
2 years ago, against my wishes, he grew enough marijuana that if we had been arrested, I would be in federal prison for 10 years.
She said results from 3 rounds of arbitration were outrageous.
I got the cat. He was awarded half of the cat food. Go figure that one.
And she blames Judge Gilbert for allowing Jackson to get away with the results.
Basically, Jackson is the driver of all of this crap.
Yes.
There's a frequent theme we hear a lot in our investigations: incompetent lawyers. But are they really incompetent or just afraid to call the judge out? Because your lawyer, they've got to go back in that same courtroom in other cases, and maybe they don't want to piss off the judge. It left the folks who called us after we exposed Melissa's stories just bewildered at what happened to them.
No, I'll go to jail before I give him the things that were awarded to me.
I can be held in contempt if I don't follow this order.
When you're on the other end of this, it's easy to kind of gaslight yourself and think, oh, you know, maybe I'm not understanding. Why is none of this making sense? But all of a sudden there's a pattern.
Thank you so much for finding a voice for those who can't speak up.
I don't even know how that's even allowed. I mean, that's a huge conflict of interest. It's extraordinarily unprofessional, and it would leave anyone feeling like, did I get a fair try here,
Melissa visited Judge Gilbert's court most recently in September. She wanted to get sensitive information in her protective order request filings sealed from public view. No one apparently would do it, even though they should, without a court order. Just more money for Melissa. But this time she was successful, and we had gone along to make sure that things were, well, on the up and up.
Steve Jackson was nowhere to be found. Gilbert was on his absolute best behavior.
Maybe that's because Gilbert knew we had already filed an official complaint about him to the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. By not recusing himself, even telling parties about his potential conflict of interest, we say he's repeatedly violated the canons of judicial conduct, specifically this one. Canon 2, avoiding impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all of the judge's activities. Even some women planning a divorce have gone to Jackson after they heard about the 1-2 punch, his special friendship with Judge Gilbert, like this woman.
And he laughed. He didn't say that I was incorrect. He basically agreed, and he was like, yeah, Judge Gilbert and I go way back.
But her ex isn't done. Lawyer Steve Jackson is now fighting Melissa's attempt to get a second deeply personal affidavit sealed too, by claiming she's waived the right to keep any of these secrets because she asked us to help expose her courthouse deception.
Do you think that clients hire you for your relationship with Judge Gilbert?
Mr. Jackson, you're welcome to come sit down and chat with us anytime you want. But that Montgomery County 1-2 punch, it won't end unless the Texas Commission on Judicial Conduct starts cracking down on obvious conflicts of interest. I'll hold my breath.